IB Nation Sports Talk's up and running on a Thursday. Glad to have you here. That's Vince D'Addario, and if you were in the big show earlier today, you've probably looked at him for the last 4 hours, and now you get a little
Who doesn't
more
want
Vince time.
little more of this? The face
Right.
for radio. Here we are, ready to roll, baby. Ready
Vince
to
is
roll.
our face. Vince is our face. This is going to be the final IB Nation Sports Talk before we go to the radio next week,
So
starting on Monday.
Background is going to be no more.
Yeah, you won't see. There might be some times, where I have to record an interview or something like that, so I might still be here. But for the most part, I'll be in the good old Sports Radio WSBT studios doing Sports Beat with Vince and Jesse, and again, we're still going to be here on this YouTube channel. So like nothing's really going to change if you're used to watching live on YouTube. Still get to do it, and the only difference will be when you say something crazy, people on the radio will hear you that you said something crazy as well.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But that, of course, will start next Monday. We don't have a show tomorrow. I'm going to a concert down at the Elkhart County Fair tomorrow.
Look at you going to Goshen.
Yeah. Wife, we've never been to a concert down there. We've been to the fair once. Been to the fair once. It was actually when Jesse did a strongman competition right after high school.
Wow.
There. And I think he finished respectably.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly what he finished.
Well, we might have to dive into that one at a later date.
Yeah, maybe on Monday we'll bring it up since it'll be all three of us.
That's
right. And that should mention that, I guess. Vince and Jesse and I will all on the the launch of Sports Beat next week. We'll all be together, so we'll have a little 3-man show going. Looking forward to that. Trevor says that you would win a strongman competition.
If it's like dad strength, doing different things like that, yeah, I feel pretty good about it. But like just straight up, like I'm actually pretty good at like just a straight up like deadlift. I can get a lot of weight up there. That kind of a deal. My son challenged me the other day a couple of months ago, we were walking past the weight room after school. He's like, "Dad, I need to see how much you can deadlift." And I was like, "All right." And I'm like in khaki pants and a polo shirt. Kind of knocked it out of the park, if I do say so myself.
Did you?
So,
okay.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of weight on that bar. So
okay.
But yeah,
glad to know that you used your legs and not your back, because if you wouldn't have, your back would have been thrown out, obviously.
Legs are my strength by far, since I used to be a high school catcher. You know what I mean? So like that is definitely where the strength lies. These chicken arms can't really get any kind of weight up when it comes to like bench or anything like that. So, but yeah, gotta show the boy what's up, little kid.
Speaking of next week and the show over on Weekday Sports Beat, Trevor's going to be with me on Tuesday, since you two yahoos. That's why you're both going to be with me on Monday, because neither one of you is going to be there on Tuesday.
This is
true. Trevor's jumping in on Tuesday, and we also have a special guest lined up. But you know how I am. Don't like to say it in advance in case something happens. So
I will be heading down all the way to Kokomo, as the Beach Boys would say. So that's where I'm headed on Tuesday. So,
all right.
I have a prior engagement that I got to hit in Kokomo, way down in Kokomo.
Yeah. Little singing, little song, little dance, little seltzer in your pants. All right.
I like that.
Okay. So we turned this into a mostly rapid fire show. We didn't get a ton of we in, we out questions today.
Happens. Some good ones though.
Happens from time to time. So we'll start with the we in, we out questions. Then we'll jump into what we've got.
Just roll
for the
in,
rest
baby.
Of the show. All right.
Let's go.
Here we go. From Irish English. Old Faithful Irish English. Notre Dame team sack totals. 2024, 40. 2023, 31. 2022, 38. 2021, 41. Notre Dame over under 40.5 sacks this season. In or out on that?
I'm in. I think there's a good chance they could be pushing upper 40s, if not 50. They're going to be more explosive on the defensive line. They may not have the names per se, like coming into it, but when it's all said and done, they're going to be able to get after the quarterback from the defensive line. They're just going to be so much more athletic across the board. Excuse me. I'm definitely taking the over on this one for sure.
Archer's going under. The caveat with this is it took 16 games to get to 40 last year, and I'm not sure.
Good point.
What the sack totals were overall during the playoffs. I know they had a few. So like,
and literally the last play of the game, against Georgia was a sack.
Yep, it was a couple sacks in that game. I think they got to Aller at least a couple of times. So against Penn State as well. I'm hedging towards over, though. Like, when I look at these other numbers, and I like how Irish English always, gives us the historical, like, here's
It's
what
helpful.
the last few years look like.
It's helpful.
So you have benchmarks to know what to go on. I think I'm going to be over as well, like between Jalen Snead's presence, KVA, is a good pass rusher as well, plus the defensive ends that they've got out there. Like I think we expect a pretty big breakout for Bryce Young. I can't remember. I don't think you were doing the show. Were you doing the show with Brian and Trevor also yesterday? Didn't somebody ask some crazy astronomical like sack numbers for you and Trevor? I saw some crazy astronomical sack totals for Logan Thomas.
That's right. Yesterday. Yeah, it was. We had to buy one, sell one, hold one. And he had 3 categories of just like nutso stuff. Not nutso, but like these guys would be having All-America seasons basically, and we had to decide who was more likely for that to happen. But not playing 2 service academies will help this year.
True.
They played 2 last year, so you're not going to get a lot of sacks in those games. So that I think that is beneficial as well. So yeah, I just think they're going to be more athletic and they're going to be able to get after the quarterback a little bit more.
I agree with that. Werewolf says he wants it to be over, but the interior won't produce much, sadly. He says.
But the interior will produce more double and triple teams, which will allow the linebackers to make some more waves and will allow one-on-ones on the outside. So I agree with you that they're not going to.
That was where their pass rush was best last year.
Right, it's going to be on the outside now.
Cross and Mills, much more so. And I think that they're going to be like they won't have the same kind of especially pass rush type production that they got out of Cross and Mills, but I think that as an interior, they're going to do like with the size of Gabe Rubio, for example.
Right, exactly.
Like they're gonna more than hold their own, and you're right. They'll eat up some stuff and give those other guys plenty of opportunities. Patrick says, but will Ash have them blitzing the same as Golden? You don't always have to blitz to get to the quarterback, and I think that's. I don't think that they'll blitz the same. But again, I think that the guys on the outside are going to be better, and I think that the guys on the inside will more than hold up, and they'll still have plenty of sack opportunities.
Yep.
With or without the blitz. I think they'll be able to get home without a lot of those blitzes.
Agreed.
Another one from Irish English. Notre Dame over under 3.5 wins with the entire starting lineup sitting out in 2025. Are we in or are we out? So if I'm reading this question right, does that mean all the starters sit out? Notre Dame, would they still get over under 3.5 wins?
I'm going to go over. They will get. I feel good they'll get 4 wins based on the schedule that they're playing. 4 out of 12. I think they could definitely do it. We talk about Notre Dame's depth all the time. Yes, you'd be having some young guys out there, no doubt about that. But there's depth in the offensive line. There's depth on the defensive line because, again, especially the defensive line, all you're telling me is I can't have the 4 starters. But there's about 8 other guys that I wouldn't mind having on the defensive line. So, and the linebacking core is deep. I think the defensive secondary would be young, very young, but talented. And then, you look at the offensive line. I think they're deep enough to go 5 across, no problem. Are you kidding me? With the running backs, we'll be fine there. And then it's either going to be CJ Carr or Kenny Minchie is your quarterback. So fire me up on that one. And then as far as the wide receivers are concerned, I only have to sit 3 of them. So then, I can start 4, 5, and 6 who are going to be in the rotation anyway. I'm definitely taking the over.
Yeah, I mean, just look at it. Purdue, yes. Right. Boston College, yes. Syracuse, yes. Stanford, yes. That's 4 right there, and that's not even including Pittsburgh and Navy.
Right.
So So yeah, totally over. Even if you had, and that's where this program has come. There's so much more depth. Like you could feel really confident. Like especially like when you think about the two lines and the kind of depth that they have on each side. Like they probably could legitimately have a number 2 offensive line that could go start for half the Power 4 programs in the country, if not more. Domer Grizz says it's really unbelievable that one national outlet can predict Notre Dame to be the number 1 seed in the playoffs this year, while another outlet, PFF, gives Notre Dame just the 19th best chance of even making the playoffs at all. We in and we out. I don't know that that's
I'm not
really
sure what I'm in
or we out, but yeah.
Are we in on the fact that media are nuts? Are we in on the fact that Pro Football Focus is awful at grading? Because they're great at data collection. They are awful at ranking things. They're just not good at it. Did you see this list, by the way, of the
percentages? I did. And
it is nuts.
My first instinct when I saw this, that they've got 19 other teams or 18 other teams, I guess, ahead of Notre Dame. I'm like, well, like PFF does rely on a lot of data. So what kind of data, how do you factor in a quarterback with no starting experience, for example? Like that would be my first instinct. But then Ohio State's got a first-time starting quarterback. Texas doesn't have a guy who's never played before, but obviously he doesn't have a ton of experience. And there are other programs in there as well. So it makes no sense to me that they would have them ranked as low as they do with all these different factors.
The teams that are ranked ahead of Notre Dame to win a national championship: Duke, Michigan, Florida, Tennessee, Louisville, Washington, South Carolina, Arizona State, Iowa. Okay.
Right.
Notre Dame has a better chance, in my opinion, of winning a conference championship over Iowa. Alabama, Ole Miss, Missouri, SMU. Like, okay, now we're getting to actually logical people like up here towards the top. But you're telling me that the Duke Blue Devils have a better chance of winning a national championship than Notre Dame.
Exactly.
Like, come on, man. Like, what are we talking about here?
Exactly.
But anyway, so I will say that I'm in on people can put whatever they want
in on the absurdity. Yeah.
Yes, I'm in on that.
Don says it's not unbelievable that national outlets can be so different. And, let's remember, because like the first part of this question was one national outlet predicts Notre Dame to be the number 1 seed. That was Brett McMurphy. As soon as he went to On3, that was, I think, the first thing that he published was like his predicted college football playoff field, and he has Notre Dame as the number 1 seed. Now he's still the outlier in that aspect. These are two outliers on different extremes of the spectrum. So you've got, again, like he's the only one saying Notre Dame's going to be the number 1 seed, and PFF is the only one who I've seen that has Notre Dame this ridiculously.
And I don't think he's right about that either. You know what I mean? The truth lies, as it generally does, someplace in between, but definitely closer to Brett McMurphy than PFF. Like,
exactly.
Come on.
Yeah. And then from Joe Allen, in or out, Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman doing their own media blitz in New York is better than what all the other conferences are doing because they don't have to compete for attention with 18 other schools for attention. In or out on that. I just wish I would have known like when that this was going to start before this morning and exactly the programs they were going to be on, but that's a different story. Go ahead, Vince.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm in on it because this is one of the benefits of being independent. You can do whatever it is that you want to do, and you can have, you can go to New York and you can do a media blitz, and you can go to LA and do a media blitz, and you can do all the different things and not have to worry about anybody else. And, Notre Dame started doing this a few years ago. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think that you just see very clearly that Notre Dame is still relevant because you're still going to get people that think Notre Dame's not relevant, but they're literally on every show in the New York area that you know,
they were on Good Morning America. Marcus Freeman sitting down with Michael Strahan on Good Morning America. You know, like that's a different targeted audience, but the fact that you get to be on broadcast national TV on one of the, you know, the main morning shows. I don't know what kind of ratings those morning shows still pull or anything, but feels like GMA is still, you know, kind of up there at the top. But I'm totally in on this because you're in the studio, you go to New York and you're in the studios of these programs. You know, they've typically, like Jeremiah Love was on First Take today. Again, I don't watch First Take, so I didn't know he was going to be on First Take until I see a short little clip after the fact. And I didn't know that Freeman was going to be on GMA until I saw an Instagram post from Notre Dame football saying, hey, Marcus Freeman's going to be on right now. But, you know, so after I see that, I scroll over and they're wrapping up the interview.
Of course they are.
Yeah. But so I would expect that they're going to be on many more ESPN shows tomorrow. Freeman's been on Good Morning Football and NFL Network before as well. So maybe he's going to be on there, especially since you've got Manti Te'o, who's one of the co-hosts of that show now. You know, he wouldn't actually be in the studio with Manti because he's in LA and Kyle Brandt is still in New York, and they usually pull some guests in there. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Don't know exactly what the schedule's going to look like, but for Notre Dame, that's a lot of eyeballs that they get. You get a lot more eyeballs in those 2 days in New York than what the SEC got for its media days, which is, you know, it's broadcast on SEC Network, but you know, there's a big difference between ESPN and Good Morning America than there is the SEC Network. So absolutely in on this. Like, none of these other coaches have the opportunity to roll in with some of their players and get one-on-one time with these different shows like this. Okay. Well, that is it for the we in, we outs. And let's just roll ourselves right into a little rapid fire.
Okay, baby, let's go.
Okay.
Got some good ones here. Got some good ones.
All right. I'm glad.
I did some research. I was doing some research while I was otherwise occupied.
Telling on yourself?
Well, you know, I didn't have a top 10 list, so I was doing some research.
Oh, the other guys did the top 10 list. You didn't have to put together your own. Gotcha.
I did not.
Someone asked Stuart Mandel in his mailbag on The Athletic for suggestions for fun teams to watch this season. His number one team, Notre Dame. Here's what he said. An offense once known primarily for its tight ends could legitimately be one of the most explosive in the country. You got a peek of that in the CFP with breakout performances from running back Jeremiah Love and receiver Jaden Greathouse, and the Irish added Virginia's Malachi Fields. So, Vince, what does that say to you?
I'm actually shocked that he would come up with a team like Notre Dame to be a team that would be fun to watch, because I don't know that that's really been the case, because usually teams that are fun to watch are just, you know, lighting up the scoreboard like a pinball machine. And while Notre Dame has scored recently, it hasn't been like, you know, the greatest show on turf or, you know, anything like that. That's just like exciting offense. It's just they're better than the other teams that they're playing. And so they score a lot, you know, and a lot of times their defense is putting them in position to score a lot of points as well. So, look, I'm not going to say I disagree with him. I think Notre Dame is going to be fun to watch, especially offensively. They are going to throw the ball around a lot more. Jeremiah Love is fun to watch. I think the receivers are going to get into the mix. So I don't think he's wrong. I'm surprised. That's all.
I was very surprised that, like, when I read this question, because I read the question, I'm like, wow, I wonder if Notre Dame would even be on his radar. And then, you know, scroll down a little bit, boom, number one, the number one team that Mandel had. So I was very shocked by that. So it's usually, you know, just kind of like with the last question, or, you know, two questions ago that we were talking about with the disparity and where people see Notre Dame and all this different stuff. Like, it's usually us kind of yelling at the clouds, you know, telling the national media, you need to give this team more respect. They're not respecting Notre Dame enough. In this case, that's a ton of respect, you know, with what what he thinks Notre Dame's offense could be. And it's every bit deserved. Like, just look at what Mike Denbrock did a couple of years ago when he was at LSU. And
Right.
now it's a young quarterback. What the learning curve is going to be, like, that is to be seen. But we all do think that this guy is going to be someone who can find his wide receivers with much more regularity than any of the last 3 or 4 quarterbacks that Notre Dame has had. And yes, the receivers can have the ability to be explosive, and both running backs are going to be explosive. And that's just the top 2. Who knows how many we end up seeing out of that room, because Aeneas Williams is explosive himself. So I mean, they got a lot of playmakers on that offense. So I think it's very well deserved. But like you, I was fairly shocked when I actually saw that he had Notre Dame at number 1. Not even 2, 3, or 4 or something like that at number 1. Because of explosiveness of the offense. Yeah.
Which has not been the case in a long time. They have not been explosive. They have scored points, but they have not been explosive. Those are 2 different things.
Yep. And I did see someone saying, I think Salty and Josh got some questions in late, so we'll circle back to those here in a minute or 2.
Yeah, we'll see.
So, yeah. Appreciate you getting those in there. We will throw some more in. ESPN picked an arch villain for each top 25 team this season. They picked Miami as Notre Dame's arch villain. Let me read to you a little bit of what they said. No Notre Dame players were alive for the 1988 clash with Miami. Duh. And Fighting Irish coach Marcus Freeman, he was only 2 years old. But longtime Domers will always view the U as a true villain, and new Miami quarterback Carson Beck, the transfer from Georgia, sparks a range of reactions. Notre Dame scored a signature win in the CFP semifinal at the Sugar Bowl against a Georgia squad that had lost Beck to injury. When healthy, Beck is talented enough to villainize the Notre Dame defense, replacing standouts Xavier Watts, Jack Kaiser, Riley Mills, and others, appearing in its first game under new coordinator Chris Ash. So, Vince, do you buy or sell Miami as Notre Dame's villain this season?
Let me ask a clarifying question. Are we talking about a villain that's on the schedule this year, or just in general towards
I believe that was kind of.
So it has to be one of the 12 on the schedule.
Of course, I just one of these qualifying questions.
Well, it's important because look, I have 2 different answers. Okay. So if it's on the schedule, I still disagree, and I say it's USC number 1.
I agree. That's mine without a doubt.
And then number 2, if it's like all time, it's Michigan. It's not like it's Michigan. Michigan is the villain, not anybody else. Michigan is the villain if it's not from the schedule this year. So there are people that watched this team in the 80s that hated Miami. I get that. That was 1987. That was 1988. That was 1989. That was a very truncated period of time as far as the grand history of Notre Dame. And so I just don't see it. I don't see, at that time, they hated Miami because of what they did to Faust and, all of the, I get it, right? That is so long gone from now. Like the last time that that's not a thing anymore. USC is way more hated. They're way more of a villain. Michigan's way more of a villain.
I agree. Like with all the stuff that's gone on this offseason is the USC series going to continue? Is it not going to continue? USC and Lincoln Riley are front and center at the top of the list.
Absolutely.
Miami is an afterthought. Now, if Miami wins this game, obviously, maybe that changes that equation. But right now, going into the season, it is not Miami. I'm sorry, and it is not Carson Beck. There's no history with Carson Beck because as they said, Notre Dame beat Georgia. So there's no animosity in terms of Carson Beck. That's only if
he didn't even play.
That happened. Yeah,
he didn't even play.
Yeah,
and if you listen to Georgia fans, they had a better shot of beating Notre Dame with him on the sideline. So there's no animosity towards Beck. Could he be villainous towards Notre Dame? Yeah, he's going to try to push the ball down the field. He's going to put the ball in harm's way, and it's Notre Dame's job to take it away. Yeah. And if they don't, they could beat Notre Dame. Sure, I get that. But that doesn't make him a villain. That makes him a hired gun for Miami.
Exactly.
That's not a villain.
The last thing, Notre Dame and Miami stopped being rivals 30 plus years ago when they stopped playing.
Yes,
correct. That's when they were villains and wearing the dark hats
Right.
and and their camouflage and all that different kind of stuff back then. Completely different now. Okay, so it took me a minute, but I found
Oh, you
the
did? Okay.
article because they kind of took it off the main and they
Yeah,
put it
yeah,
off
yeah.
to the side. So here are some of the other villains that they had. Penn State's is Ryan Day. Clemson's is Lenoris Sellers. South Carolina quarterback. Texas is Oklahoma. Georgia is Alabama. Ohio State is Sharon Moore. LSU's is daytime home games, interestingly.
Wow.
Oregon's is Ohio State. Alabama's is Vanderbilt. BYU is Utah. So to answer your question, yeah, it's pretty much like team or coach or whatever that they're going to actually face.
Lenoris Sellers for
pretty much
Clemson.
for everybody.
Interesting.
Yep. Jimmy Johnson, you're right, DJ. He'll always be a villain, but a historical villain because he's not there anymore.
Correct.
So he's actually a fairly sympathetic old man now,
Right.
after seeing him cry after his retirement and all that kind of stuff. So,
yes, I completely agree with that. Yeah. 100%. That is hilarious.
I would like to get Jimmy Johnson and Lou Holtz in a room together and just kind of relive some of that stuff and see where that conversation would go. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Start beating each other with their canes.
Yeah. Maybe we can try to make that happen sometime in the future.
Oh, we can give that a shot.
It wouldn't be in the same room, but
oh man.
Here's some we in, we out from Josh. He got some up there
right under the wire. 458.
Yeah. I know. Just slid it in. I think I was still hitting refresh at the time as well, but it didn't come in. So in or out, one of Notre Dame's opponent's head coaches will no longer be the head coach at the end of the season. Okay, so he's saying someone's going to get fired before the season's over.
Oh boy. Well,
I think Pittman at Arkansas is a candidate.
Okay.
Going into the season. Let me see. I don't think Cristobal is going to be fired. Mike Elko's not going to be fired. Purdue just hired a new head coach. Boise State's is not going to get fired. Doran's not going to get fired. I think that
Lincoln Riley, depending on how things go.
Could be. Boston College, they're not firing O'Brien. Navy, that's not happening. I think this could be a make or break type season for Mr. Narduzzi.
Ooh. Okay.
Because they started 7-0 and they just completely unraveled at the end of last season. And I think he's been there for 11, 12 years now at this point. I think that if they're up and down, I think that by November he could find himself on the hot seat. Syracuse, nothing's going on there.
The easy answer here is Stanford because they've got an interim coach.
Well, I was going to say, but they're not. I don't think they're going to fire an interim coach before the end of the season, though, right?
They're at the end. Oh, so you're saying he's going to get fired before?
Will no longer be the head coach. Okay, I think I read it wrong. Actually, will no longer be the head coach at the end of the season. Yeah, I think Stanford.
But that probably doesn't count because he's an interim, and I don't think he has any desire to be the long-term head coach there. I don't know why he would want to. But at the same time, so we'll take Stanford out of the mix. I think your possibilities are USC, Pitt. I think those are your two biggest possibilities. Everybody else is too early in their tenure. So I'm going to be out on this. USC is going to have to go 500 for them to get rid of him. And same thing with Pitt, to be perfectly honest. So, because with Pitt's an interesting one because look, Narduzzi's been there a while and he's been up and he's been down. He started out 7-0 and then they lost the next 6, I think, after that, which is putting him on a little bit of the hot seat. But if you're Pitt, who else are you going to get? Is the grass greener someplace else? That kind of a situation. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot of 8-win seasons.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to be.
But you've got a relatively, Alan Green, the athletic director. I think he's only been there for maybe a year at this point. Notre Dame guy, former Notre Dame baseball player, Alan Green. So like ADs like their own guy, and kind of depending on what he thinks. I'm gonna be in. I think that at least one team will be looking for a head coach by season's end. And again, like we clarified it, this doesn't mean during the season. That he said at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So
that's
Salty fair. I think it was Salty, had a good question. Can an interim coach be fired? I mean,
I feel like Frank Reich is doing
as long as you're an employee. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, if things work out well, he'll probably stick around down there.
Yeah,
but
because he was already going to be an assistant on the team. You know, he just got a little bit more than he bargained for.
Second part of Josh's question: we in or we out? Defense will have even better season, and Chris Ash will end up as a Broyles Award finalist.
Out, very out on that one. Al Golden wasn't good his first year and got much better and was the Broyles Award winner last year. So unless Chris Ash is going to win the Broyles Award, it will not be better than Al Golden's year, and that's not going to happen. So I'm out.
Yeah, I mean, the Broyles thing is such a long, like there haven't been a ton of Notre Dame assistants who have ended up, as a finalist for that, let alone winning it. You still have to go back to the Werewolf, the last time Notre Dame actually won one of those. So, yeah, I'm gonna be out. I still think the defense is going to be good, but for him to be better, that's a high bar. And then to end up as a Broyles Award finalist in his first season as a defensive coordinator, that's a really high bar. So I've got to be out on that. Joe asked if we have done the over-under on Pitt yet. We haven't.
Nope. Put it on the list.
We'll do that. We'll do that Monday. What do you say? Because we actually have one that we're going to do today.
Yes,
we were going to do earlier this week. Salty, Elijah Golden's choice to defer his commitment date is concerning, but the risk of receiving such news should not cause one to avoid checking the IB boards daily. Are we in or we out?
I mean, I'm in on that because you should join the board and be a member, and so that you're finding out all the details.
Check multiple times a day for that.
I don't know enough about Elijah Golden or his family or his situation to know if this is a concerning thing and not concerned. I have no idea. And I have yet to have an opportunity to talk to Brian about it, to tell me whether I should be concerned or not. So I have no idea. But you definitely should be checking the boards, because I would imagine that Brian will have some sort of intel at some point concerning this situation.
I'm in on that. Totally in on that.
Yeah.
What you just said.
I know there's a story about it or not a story, but a thread, but I don't know if Brian has actually contributed to said story yet. So
right. Antoine has a question. In or out? Love and Price will rush for 1,000 plus yards, 10 plus touchdowns, and 6 yards per carry. And Snead finally shows off his potential and becomes a second team All-American.
So the first one, I assume that he means each one will have 1,000 yards, each one will have 10 touchdowns, and each one will have 6 yards a carry. I do think they will both have 1,000 yards. As far as the touchdowns are concerned, I don't know if they'll both have 10 plus. That's a lot. So maybe I'll be out on that. 6.0 yards a carry. I think that's doable. So I'll be in on that. I'm out on Snead being a second team All-American. He's not going to get the snaps to do that.
Yeah. He'll be good. He'll be very productive, but I don't think that he's going to be in that ballpark. And I think I agree with what you're saying. I'm fairly in on them, because I think that on them both getting to 1,000 yards, I think that they both have a chance to do that this year. The 10 plus touchdowns I can't go to because I can't remember if it was last week, or I guess it would have been the week before, since we didn't do a show last week. But I think someone asked about Love breaking the rushing touchdown record at Notre Dame, which I think he needs 20 to do that, and I was in on him doing that. So if Love is going to get 20, I don't see Price getting 10 more himself.
Yeah, that's going
to
be
the 6 yards per carry. I can see both of them doing the 6 yards per carry as well. Notre Dame alum and Washington Mystics rookie Sonia Citron is going to participate in the WNBA's All-Star three-point shooting contest on Friday. She's going to join Sabrina Ionescu, Kelsey Plum, Alicia Gray. Got news today that Caitlin Clark will not be in the three-point shooting contest. She was supposed to, but she suffered a groin injury early this week. So how cool is it for Citron, and how much does it take away from the event that there won't be any Caitlin Clark?
Well, is that definite that she's not going to be there? She's like a
definitely not doing the three-point shooting. They announced it this afternoon. So,
okay, gotcha. Yeah. All right.
I initially wrote this question before anything was known, but I think it was like almost 4 hours ago they made the announcement that she won't play. In the three-point contest.
Gotcha. This is an awesome honor for her as a rookie to be able to go in there and compete for this. It does take a little bit of shine away that Caitlin Clark's not going to be in it because she's the preeminent three-point shooter, obviously, in the league, and you want to, to be the best, you got to beat the best kind of a situation. And so that takes a little bit of shine away from it. But at the same time, she was asked to do it as well as Caitlin Clark. So it's like, she's still in the mix there, which is an honor. So really cool opportunity for her in her first year.
Yeah. As well as Clark and Ionescu, and Kelsey Plum is a big star as well, even though personally I feel like she's, a little bit overrated myself after watching her in the Olympics last year. But Citron is killing it, man. Like she is probably the front runner for Rookie of the Year right now in the WNBA. So big year, like Don says, she's been balling. Big year that she has had so far. It's awesome that she's going to be in the three-point shooting contest and part of the whole weekend down there. It really stinks for Caitlin Clark and for Indiana and just, All-Star weekend in general, because one, the game is in Indianapolis.
Really?
Obviously her home team and that whole thing. And the fact that, like when you talk about the three-point contest, I wonder, like, would she have been taking some shots from back there by the logo, or would she be, up by the line, making it? They're almost like layups when she's actually up at the three-point arc. So it definitely takes away from the whole thing that she's not going to be in it, because she literally is the biggest star in the game right now. But it's awesome for Sony that she gets to be in something like this as a rookie,
for sure,
that she's played the way she has coming right out of the gates into college.
Awesome.
Fill in the blank. It's blank that Indiana, the Hoosiers, have canceled a home-and-home series against Virginia in 2027 and 28, and they replaced the Cavaliers with Kennesaw State in 27, Austin Peay in 28, and Eastern Illinois 29. Veritable murderer's row that they're adding to that schedule now.
It's just hilarious. Like, our boy comes in there, and look, maybe he's not making the final decision because it is the athletic director's job to do the scheduling and all that. But if you're telling me that they're not consulting with Kirk Cignetti on the schedule, then I don't believe you if that's what you're going to tell me. Because, he's like, Google me. All I do is win. Well, yeah, you know what? All I would do is win when
cupcakes.
When I play South Bend Career Academy and, teams of that nature. Like, yeah, that's all you do is win, my man. Like, come on. Like, did he, miss his days at his old stop? He had to play, teams that were that level, now that he's at IU. Like, yeah, look, that's how IU wants to rack up their wins, by playing teams like that. Then I guess more power to them. But you're not going to get back to the college football playoff playing teams like that. That's not going to challenge you. It's
they took Louisville off the schedule last year, remember?
I know, ridiculous. You're right. But they're also not going to get a Big Ten schedule like they had last year either.
And I'm just so sick and tired of all these Big Ten schools talking about how they're playing such a brutal schedule.
Yeah, no, they're not.
You are not playing that tough a schedule. And like, let's take a look at Indiana here as an example. Let's find them here real quickly. Where's Indiana? There they are. So here's what they're going to play this year. Old Dominion. They've already got Kennesaw State on the schedule this year and Indiana State to open it up.
Ooh, wow.
Okay, so here's their brutal 9-game Big Ten schedule that they talk about. Illinois. Okay, they're going to be they're supposed to be.
They should be in the upper half, if not upper quarter of the Big Ten, supposedly.
Yeah, we'll see. Iowa, traditionally good defense, supposedly an improved offense. We'll see. They're at Oregon. They play Michigan State. They play UCLA. They play Maryland. They're at Penn State. They play Wisconsin. They're at Purdue. I mean, come on.
It's a harder schedule by leaps and bounds from what it was last year.
Yeah, because they have to play Oregon this year.
I mean, look at their schedule from last year. I
know. Like on paper going into last season, it seemed like that, they were going to play a pretty brutal schedule because of the fact that they had Michigan and Washington, who were both in the playoff the year before, and they had Ohio State as well. But Michigan and Washington both fell off pretty drastically.
Right.
So, but that is a very manageable schedule. Just like Penn State, very manageable schedule. I'm tired of hearing these Big Ten teams talk about the brutal schedules that they have. They're just not that tough.
Just listen to USC talk about how brutal their schedule is.
I know.
Because they have to travel to Illinois. They have to travel to Purdue. They have to travel to Notre Dame. Oh, we can't travel to the Midwest 3 times. Well, then why did you join a Midwest conference, my guy?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, the schedule that Indiana has, if they're the kind of program that they think they are, that's 9-3, 10-2. And you'll be in the conversation with 2 losses for the playoff. But
IU?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to have that kind of a record.
I mean, if they're as good as they think they are.
Well, that's a big difference. They also thought they were going to beat Notre Dame. So, yeah, the reality is they're not going to have that good of a record.
Exactly.
It's just not going to happen.
Exactly.
Sorry. Signetti's going to get a little bit of an up and coming this year, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I love how Signetti is already has to backtrack and not as great as we think we are.
Yeah, the fact that he was on the pregame show like 2 hours before the game was going to start pretty much told me all I needed to know about look at me, Signetti. So,
yep. Okay, we're going to go. Notre Dame plays NC State October 11th this year. We've tried to work in some of Notre Dame's opponents for our guess the over-under.
Yes.
And I'm trying to find their schedule here. That's why I'm kind of stalling a little bit.
Well, they open up with a home game against East Carolina.
Okay.
Then they host Virginia, the aforementioned Virginia. Then they go on the road to Wake Forest.
Okay.
They go on the road to Duke. They host Virginia Tech. They host Campbell, whoever that is. They go on the road against Notre Dame. They go on the road against Pitt. They host Georgia Tech. They go on the road against Miami. They host Florida State. And they close out the season in their rivalry game against the Tar Heels of North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. Very manageable schedule.
Very manageable schedule.
I mean, really, I see one guaranteed loss, Notre Dame. I see most likely Miami.
Most likely, agree.
And then everything else I think is winnable. Even Miami is winnable, but everything else I think is winnable. So I think this is going to be an interesting one.
I'm putting this one at 9.5.
Ooh, Vince is going on the high end.
I think there's a lot of people out there that think NC State can be decent this year. It'll probably be 8.5. I would set it at 9.5. But there's a lot of teams on here that you just don't really know how good they're going to be. I mean, obviously Duke has a better chance of going to the national championship than Notre Dame. So maybe they're going to be really, really good, and they have to go to Duke to play that game. So that's
so. As we've done this so far, you've pretty much come in on the high end.
Yeah, I have.
On most of these.
I'm just very glasses half full guy.
I guess so.
Mm-hmm. I was on fire there when we first started doing this.
You were.
I have struggled recently.
I think you got a little cocky, a little full of yourself. Justin and Tommy are both at 7.5. Joe, well, Tommy now is saying maybe 8.5. I'm in this 7.5, 8.5 range. Joe says 5.5. NC State will underachieve. I think you're right that they'll underachieve, but I think Vegas. I'm going to go 7.5.
5.5 is low. I'll go 8.5. I'll bring it back. I'm going to bring it back.
8.5.
I'm going to go 8.5. 5.5 is too low. That's not going to happen.
I'm going to go 7.5. I don't know exactly. Is Georgia Tech on their schedule?
Yeah, they are.
Georgia Tech is on the schedule. Pitt's on the schedule. I think they're going to have a lot of close, fairly.
There's a lot of toss-up games on here.
Yeah,
a lot of halves.
So that's why I'm in the 7.5. I'm in at 7.5. I'm locking in. You going 8.5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Vince is 8.5. I'm 7.5. NC State over under is
Say it, baby. Say it.
6.5.
Oh my gosh, I'm way over.
6.5.
Well, listen, I would take the over at 6.5.
I think I would too.
I would take it without much thought process behind it. I would take the over.
Yep. Man, Vegas.
Because there's some teams on here that are questionable at best.
Let me see. The over is plus 110. So you got good odds on the over. The under is minus 134. So Vegas not thinking very highly of NC State.
No, they're not. They think NC State's just going to be a bowl team, basically.
They were a sleeper playoff team for me last year. Obviously, that didn't pan out. So watch this year be the year that they actually challenge.
Tommy's a closet NC State fan. 10-2.
Tommy, man, high on the old Wolfpack. Some interesting news going on with Fox Sports this week, Vince. FS1, first they canceled 3 shows this week. Breakfast Ball, which I had never seen, but I had heard of. It had Mark Schlereth, Danny Parkins, who used to be in Chicago, and Craig Carton, New York talk radio guy. The Facility, which I had never even heard of before, and Speak, which I watched a little bit of when it first debuted a couple years ago. Joy Taylor, LaShawn McCoy were part of that. So all those 3 shows got axed. And now, here's where it gets interesting. Fox Sports is reportedly finalizing a deal with Barstool Sports that would see Dave Portnoy, who founded the company, become a regular on Big Noon Kickoff on Saturdays during the college football season. In addition to that, Portnoy and the other bigger personalities from Barstool, like Dan Big Cat Katz, would be part of a Barstool produced daily show on FS1. Basically, think what McAfee is doing on ESPN right now. And this show is expected to go head to head with Get Up and First Take in the morning on ESPN. Barstool may also have its own college football pregame show that would air before Big Noon Kickoff at select Big Ten games. So, Vince, what do you think about all this? FS1, I don't know if it's a roll of the dice or not, going in on Barstool and Dave Portnoy. I think the biggest news out of this whole thing is the Big Noon Kickoff aspect of it.
Justin and I are on the same page. Portnoy is insufferable.
Well, he is a Michigan fan, so you start with that.
But yes, he's a ridiculous Michigan fan, which obviously, look, I'm not going to hammer somebody for being a fan of a team, but what other knowledge does he even have? Because all I ever see is him talking about Michigan.
Well, I see him talking about pizza. Yes,
I've seen him do pizza reviews. Yep. But what else does he bring to the table, though? You know what I mean? That would be my biggest issue with the whole thing is at least Pat McAfee. Yeah, he's out there. Don't get me wrong, but he at least has knowledge. Yeah. He played the game. He has knowledge of the game. He can talk about pretty much any sport. He can talk about teams. He can do all of those different things. I don't think Dave Portnoy can do that. Now, I will give credit where it's due. He's made millions of dollars with this Barstool, setup, but it's just a bunch of guys being drunk and being stupid, like watching games. Like, yeah. I just don't. He's not an authority figure who I want to learn from, and right. That's who needs to be on these shows, in my opinion.
That's what I don't get. Like, what is he going to add to the Big Noon Kickoff show?
It made it worse. I used to like watching it.
I think it's gonna take away a lot of their credibility by having them on there. I guess we'll see what his role is in this whole thing, but it's like, Urban Meyer and Brady Quinn and Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush and, oh, by the way, Dave Portnoy. I don't know what that's going to add.
Me neither.
It's an obvious response to Pat McAfee with him being on College Game Day, and then when you look at what they're doing during the week as well, with the thing, like the weekday thing, I actually agree with that, because it's funny, because like all of these reports started coming out maybe around this time last night that that this was going to happen, and after they canceled these shows, I was thinking about a question like, should FS1 just try to, duplicate the McAfee thing, for their Monday through Friday and just partner up with a podcast type situation? I think that makes sense. Like that aspect of it, like Portnoy and Big Cat and all that, whoever they're going to have, and, Barstool Chief or whatever, like during the week, Monday through Friday. I think that makes a lot of sense. You're probably, because like they're still going to produce their own show, just like McAfee does with his, and then they license it and they put it on, and, like there's an obvious demographic, younger demographic that you're targeting. That makes sense. The Big Noon Kickoff aspect of this, I think, makes no sense at all by having Portnoy involved in it, because like you said, like, where is his expertise? He's just a fan. That's all he is, a biased fan. And
exactly.
Why do you need that?
You don't.
Your premier college football program.
If you are trying to compete with College Game Day, and there was a good group of people that would watch Big Noon Kickoff over College Game Day, and a lot of them are in our chat, on a regular basis. Like, and I frankly kind of enjoyed Big Noon Kickoff versus Game Day, but if Portnoy is going to be on Big Noon Kickoff, I will never watch it. I will watch Game Day. It pushes me the other direction, and I guarantee you that's going to be the case for a lot of people. They're going to get pushed the other direction. This is just, with Big Noon Kickoff doing what they've been doing, they've been like kind of closing the gap. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they have now widened it, and that's not good business.
And again, they reach a younger demographic. So, I don't know if that's what they're going after by bringing in Portnoy, because it's like he's at least as old as the rest of those guys on the show, if not older than some of them, like obviously with the exception of Urban Meyer, probably. So I don't know, but like the Barstool is very popular with the younger crowd. So
I get it. It's just,
like I said, I think the Monday through Friday thing is a great idea. Like going that route with those guys, putting them on FS1. They never get that great ratings anyway. Right. And you're going up against these ESPN shows, so like worst case scenario, you take a rating point or two away, from Get Up and
sure, because those shows aren't the best. You know what I mean? So like, right. I could see them doing that. That makes a lot of sense. The Big Noon Kickoff, it does not.
Salty says he thinks that IB Nation should set up its own member-sourced Saturday morning show.
Member-sourced, interesting.
So is what Salty's saying is he wants to host a show with IB Nation Saturday mornings for a pregame show?
It's pretty much exactly what it is. Speaking of which, remind me, I want to talk to you about something.
Oh, okay.
Just the radio show and all that fun stuff.
I got you. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I actually enjoy it, like, because I like the same kind of pizza, the same style pizza that Portnoy does.
Oh, okay. Well,
like we're both big, like, New York style, thin, like the whole thing. And
the thin, like thin crispy crust, or the thin that you can like bend and eat?
Yeah, like that. Like
Okay.
still
I
like a
got you.
pie slice, looks like a pie slice, but it's
Yes.
like you can bend it up and eat it, but
Okay.
it's still got a little crunch on the bottom and a little crust
You're
on the
making me
edge,
hungry, dude. I
that
haven't eaten
kind of
since
thing.
breakfast. You're killing me. You're killing me right now.
That's the pizza right there. Fill in the blank, not including Top Gun, the 80s action movie you could watch over and over again is blank.
Well, so this is where I did my research, and I found IMDb has the top 50 80s action movies.
Ooh, okay.
Okay. Now
Let's went deep on this.
it was created 10 years ago.
Okay.
But that's okay because the 80s were more than that long ago, The one I'm gonna say isn't even on here. At least I didn't see it. And I'm very disappointed in it. And people are gonna make fun of me, and I don't care. Back to the Future.
It's not an action movie.
How is that not an action movie?
Oh, come on. I knew you. I knew you were going to say Back to the Future. I knew you were going to come up with some rinky-dink crap like this. Come on. Come on. Oh, my gosh. Back to the Future. See, Toonses agrees. Not action.
All right. Well, if I can't say that,
then
then
it says a tie between the original Terminator and Aliens. See, Archer.
If people are going to have a problem with that, and that's fine. I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever. I'm going to go with the Indiana Jones trilogy.
Good one. See, that's if you go the first one, Indiana Jones Temple of Doom, I would be totally in on that.
Yeah.
The sequel's not quite as good.
See,
Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm sorry, not Temple of Doom.
Last
Raiders
Crusade is the best one. Last Crusade
is that the one with Sean Connery in it?
Yes.
Okay,
and that's why it's the best one.
Archer says your number 2 pick was The Breakfast Club.
Come on.
I like it. Die Hard and Lethal Weapon were the first two that came to mind.
Die Hard is the number 1 movie on this list, by the way.
Is it? I think that makes a lot of sense. But I think I'm like the one that I really, not that it's a, like any of these, I don't think we're going to say it's a great film, air quotes. They're all fun movies. Die Hard, I think I've seen too many times because I've actually got it on the DVR, and there've been a few times where I've got nothing to watch, and I'm like, I don't know if I really feel like John McClane going through but it is still, there's some really good parts in it. Same with Lethal Weapon. Like I really like that one as well. I think Lethal Weapon 2 might be a little bit better, and I can't remember if that's still in the 80s or if it's in the 90s at that point. But I have got to go with Roadhouse. The original Roadhouse. Wow. Patrick Swayze. I thought you'd be bigger. Dalton, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
Like the fights in the Roadhouse and in the bar, and throwing beer bottles through the chicken wire and all that kind of good stuff, and getting stitched up and everything else. Roadhouse.
Roadhouse did not make the top 50 in IMDb.
I think that is pure BS.
There's some on here that I've never heard of before.
These are good. These are good as well. Justin says Beverly Hills Cop. I would definitely count that as an action movie. Brian NY, Rambo. I think that's a good one as well. I like what I like about Roadhouse is, like.
Oh, never mind. Roadhouse is number 27.
There you go. Number 27.
I'm
surprised that it's like, I like, there's just enough kitschiness in Roadhouse. There's enough winks and, not maybe. Like maybe the actors were taking it seriously, but you obviously watch it and you can't take it too seriously. There's enough stuff that you can kind of chuckle at and kind of roll your eyes at and everything else. Salty says your number 3 was Terms of Endearment, and then Driving Miss Daisy. Escape from New York. I've been looking for that for a long time, Joe. I haven't been able to find it. I haven't seen that 16. In a long time.
Number 16.
Escape from New York. All right. Little Kurt Russell, Snake Plissken. Okay, so speaking of movies, give me the details on Superman.
Well,
did you enjoy?
Have you seen it?
No, I mean, I don't want you to give away plot, but I want you to tell me, like spoiler free.
It's very interesting.
Is it worth seeing or what?
like it's in how polarizing this movie is to people. Like there are like Kirk Herbstreit tweeted or retweeted, I should say, like this rant that this old guy went on about how it's the worst movie he's ever seen.
Wow.
And it was like an 8.5-minute rant. And he's like, I agree with every sentence that this guy says. And I'm like, wow. I mean, he went off. So like one of the things about this movie that is different than the other Superman movies is it's got his dog. Crypto, I think is his name, or Krypton or whatever. And the old guy was all upset about it. He's like, what is there? There's this dog with a cape, and where did that come from? It's like, clearly the guy never picked up a comic book. Not that I'm a big comic book guy, but I even knew in the comic book Superman had a dog. You know, like it was just, anyway, the guy was off his rocker. Now, I was entertained by the movie. I thought that it was actually, there was some really good jokes in there where I was laughing out loud. So I thought that part was actually very, very good. You know, they made Lois Lane a very strong presence.
Yeah.
And then they also made it so that Superman got his butt kicked a lot, which was an interesting choice. The very first scene of the movie, he's bleeding. Like, and I didn't know that Superman could bleed. You know what I mean? So they made some very interesting choices in there.
Did you like the actor playing Superman?
I think he did a good job.
Okay.
And I liked Lois Lane. I thought they were a good, pairing.
You probably never watched The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, did you?
No. Is that who
we used to watch that? Yeah, she was okay. Mrs. Maisel.
I thought she did a good job. I thought the two of them together are good. I thought that the Jimmy Olsen character was interesting. They've got him like, shooing off like supermodel type people, like, which is it's not the Jimmy Olsen I know. So that was interesting to me. But like everybody's like, oh, it's woke and all this other, like, it's not woke. It's a movie. Like, leave your political views at the door and just come in and enjoy Superman kicking some ass. Like, I don't know. It wasn't a political, like, thing to me. And anyway, because I tried to find it, because going in, people are like, oh, it's this and it's that. And I didn't see that when I was watching it. You know what I mean? They added a lot of elements that maybe weren't necessary. There was a lot of other superheroes that were kind of involved, and, some interesting thing. I thought the guy who played Lex Luthor was really good.
Okay.
He was evil. Like, he was really, really good. So I would recommend seeing it for sure.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I didn't like. They brought in Supergirl at the very, very, very end. It's almost like a cameo.
Who plays Supergirl?
I don't know. I don't recognize the actress, but it's basically they brought her in as in like, hey, she's gonna get her own movie. Like, you kind of see it coming.
Don't they kind of do that with all these
superhero?
Exactly. Like they always set up the next one, basically.
So that was, and they brought her in and she was like high and like all like, okay, I don't like where that's going. You know what I mean? But other than that, I thought it was really, really good.
Let me see. I'm looking here. I'm on the IMDb. I'm looking to see if they have a credit for Supergirl. I'm scrolling through. Wow, Michael Ian Black was in it. There's a name from way back. Cat Grant. Let me see. Saved Woman. Isabella Merced. Hawk Girl. Hawk
Girl, yes. I don't know who Hawk Girl is. Mr. Fantastic or Mr. Wonderful or Mr. something or other was like a main character in this. And then the guy who was in Castle and The Rookie, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
He was in it as Green Lantern, which was interesting because he kind of played kind of a doofus in the movie. So that was kind of an interesting take on that one.
All right. Well, I couldn't find a Supergirl credit, so
yeah, she was in there at the very, 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 very end.
Nathan Fillion. Fillion.
And I'm a Nathan Fillion fan, but they made him like an idiot. Like he's an idiot in the movie.
Yeah,
but
he's an idiot in Saving Private Ryan. That's like the one that I remember him the most from.
Oh, I didn't even know he was in that.
He's the mistaken, isn't that Nathan Fillion? Isn't he the mistaken, like the guy where Ted Danson, like they go get the other Private Ryan and he shows up and he starts crying and stuff like that.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time. So
yeah.
I just remember him from TV, from Castle.
Yeah, I would recommend F1. I was a little hesitant about going, because I'm not a big, race car, definitely not an F1 type guy. Movie itself, very entertaining. Brad Pitt, I can't remember the name of the the lead. It was like, kind of the old man and the rookie and that kind of stuff. And there were some, somewhat, sort of cliche, angles, with the rival, and all that kind of stuff. But I think that they managed to kind of go without giving away what's going to happen at the end. So, I'd say it's worth it for sure.
Salty says that the director made it political by grandstanding statements and all that. He can say whatever he wants. I'm talking about the 2 hours that I was in the movie theater. It did not feel political.
Yeah,
in my brain. Like,
I don't know why everything has to be about politics.
Right, exactly. I was entertained by a superhero movie while I was in there. I did not. Yeah, it didn't come off as political to me. So the director can say whatever he wants.
If you want to,
it doesn't matter.
If you want to see political slants, you're going to see him, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Antoine, going back to the Fox Sports stuff, says Joy Taylor is annoying. Well, Antoine, you'll be excited to know that they let go of Joy Taylor. She was part of the purge there.
I wonder if she's going to get on social media and say that she quit instead of getting fired.
Good question. Some people do that.
Some people do that.
I know. Like, it's funny.
Just saying.
Yep. When they were actually let go, they didn't actually quit. Tommy says, with the new radio show, you guys should pick a day of the week to review a local restaurant that out-of-towners should stop at when they visit. Call it the foodies section. It's not a bad idea.
It's not a terrible idea.
And I mean, there's some sponsorship opportunities there. But the thing is, if there's sponsors involved and we're talking about businesses, there's also, if we say bad things, you can step on some toes.
If you're doing a real review.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. It's not a bad idea, though.
And we and the extra added complication of taking video on the road so that we can also do, this end of things makes things interesting. So those are all things we'd have to figure out if we're going to do a show on the road.
Yes. So don't forget, starting next Monday, we merge with WSBT Sports Radio, WSBT here in town from 5 to 7 every day. That's actually, good news for the Irish Breakdown crowd, because typically, Friday's a shorter show. It's a rapid fire show. We're not going to have a show tomorrow because, again, I'm going to be at a concert, and Jesse is doing a bachelor party weekend, with his groomsmen and all that different kind of stuff. So no show tomorrow, but starting next week, we have no excuses. There will be shows from 5 to 7 Monday through Friday, henceforth, right here on the Irish Breakdown YouTube channel. So you'll find that. And again, we'll be synced up with Weekday Sports Beat. And the name of the show as of next week will be Irish Breakdown's Weekday Sports Beat instead of Sports Talk. So looking forward to it. We're looking forward to having the rowdy bunch here from IB over there chiming in as usual on in the chat on the old YouTube show. So
it's gonna be fun.
Yep. So look for us over there. Come Monday at 5:00, we'll be up and rolling. Till then, have a great weekend. Hit the like button before you leave if you would, and we'll talk to you then on IB Nation Sports Beat.